Hello, friends. I am Jax James, NORML State Policy Manager, here for our Friday live stream where we will talk about the moving items of legislation that are going on around the country. So if you guys have tuned in before, you know that I love to hear what states you're watching from, so that if possible, I can give you updates on what's going on with legislation in your state. I want to preface this by saying that not all states are currently in their legislative portion of their cycle. Some have ended, some have just started. So it can really vary pretty greatly based on where you're from in the country. And so I encourage everyone to go to normal.org/act, our ACT page, and you can hover over your state on the dynamic map there, and you can see any and all legislation that is currently moving in your state, whether I cover it today or not. So just a little tip for you there. There are some really great things happening in the states that still have legislative sessions going on. There's quite a bit of action in California. I wanted to let you guys know that, of course, California NORML has a really great update blog on their website that you can check out, but there is quite a few bills. So I'm going to start from the top and proceed. So as mentioned, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. Also drop what states you're in, and I'll see if I have any updates for you. But starting with California, SB 1186 requires all local governments to permit access to medical cannabis via either the establishment of licensed dispensaries or via delivery. And this bill has now passed the state Senate and heads to the Assembly. Also, and to also let you know, for all of these bills that I'm about to talk to you guys about, if you go to today's update blog, there's links to all of the action alerts, to the actual legislative text, and in some cases, some news as well. So also in California, AB 2693 enables small licensed cannabis producers to obtain temporary retail licenses so that they can sell their products at licensed, locally approved cannabis events. This bill would provide a pathway for small producers to establish consumer relationships absent of possessing a retail space. Additionally, in California, AB 1281, as currently written, eliminates the state-imposed cultivation tax without raising the state's excise tax, as other proposals do. AB 1281 reduces the excise tax from 15% to 5%, helping both licensed businesses and consumers. A bit of legislation that NORML opposes out of California is SB 1097. This would require extensive, badly designed new labels warning on all cannabis products, boosting costs to the consumer without really having a benefit to public health. This bill has passed the Senate Appropriation Committee and is heading to the Senate floor. Additionally, in California, I told you there's a lot of bills going on in California, is AB 1954, which prohibits a physician and a surgeon from automatically denying treatment or medication to a qualified patient based solely on a positive drug screen for THC. AB 1954 has passed the Assembly floor and now heads to the Senate. Additional legislation in California 2595 protects parental rights of cannabis consumers. This bill has passed the Assembly floor and now heads to the Senate. There's also legislation, AB 2188, which would ban employers from denying workers jobs or firing them based on drug tests for inactive metabolites detected for days or even weeks after use. And there has been no correlation with on-the-job impairment and THC metabolites. So the update there on 2188 is that the bill has passed the Assembly floor and heads to the Senate. If passed, California would be the 7th state to offer employment protections to recreational users. The other states are Nevada, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Montana, and now Rhode Island. So important updates, many updates from California. If you are in California, I definitely suggest that you follow California NORML. They are super active in what they are doing out in the state. An update from Delaware. I'm sure you saw the news earlier this week. So in Delaware, the current law classifies possession of up to an ounce as a civil penalty, punishable by a $100 fine, but no threat of jail time. There was a House Bill 371, which would have removed all criminal penalties for the possession of 1 ounce of marijuana for adults. The possession of above that limit and public consumption would still be classified as a misdemeanor, though. The legislation would have also allowed for adults to transfer cannabis between themselves within the possession limits without remuneration. The update here is House Bill 371 was advanced by a supermajority in the Delaware House and Senate, but Democratic Governor Carney has vetoed this important legislation, making Governor Carney the first Democratic governor to ever take such action on cannabis policy. The Delaware legislature now heads for a 2-week break before reconvening, and lawmakers will need to have a 3/5 majority to override the governor's veto. Historically, they've been reluctant to act on and override vetoes, but there is an action alert there if you live in Delaware, so that you can send a message to the legislature to support any efforts necessary to enact HB 371. Of course, there's also a complementary bill that has been filed by another author that we hope will be addressed whenever they return as well, that would actually set up a regulated cannabis market. So extremely important that we engage in Delaware. Delaware, man, it has been one heck of a road this session. This is the second attempt to fully depenalize and regulate cannabis in Delaware, and it has just been a roller coaster. Louisiana is another state that has had a lot of movement there. Current state law has partially decriminalized cannabis possession. So while the law maintains penalties for cannabis use and possession, limited personal possession carries no threat of jail time. So House Bill 774 facilitates a process for those seeking to have their past marijuana convictions expunged. After passing the House, 774 has also passed the Senate Judiciary Committee and now heads to the Senate floor. Additionally, in Louisiana, House Bill 629 prohibits law enforcement from conducting a search of a person's residence based on the odor of marijuana without first obtaining a search warrant. This legislation, excuse me, allergies are really bad right now. I don't know why I sang that to you guys, sorry. But after passing the House, HB 629 was passed in the Judiciary Committee in the Senate and now heads to the Senate floor. Also in Louisiana, House Bill 988 provides employment protections to patients who are lawfully consuming medical marijuana while off the job. The measure wouldn't alter existing law regarding the consumption of cannabis while at work, which is still strictly prohibited. HB 988 was on the House floor and passed it by a vote of 60 to 32, now heads to the Senate. Additionally, in Louisiana, the last bill I'll cover from that state is HB 135, which permits the dispensing of medical marijuana to qualifying patients who are not Louisiana residents, and we call that reciprocity. So after passing the House, HB 135 has also passed the Senate Health and Welfare Committee and now will head to the Senate floor. So lots of legislation moving in Louisiana. If you are from that state, I strongly encourage you to participate in those action alerts. Next on the docket today is North Carolina, where Senate Bill 765 would allow for adults to legally possess up to 2 ounces of marijuana or the equivalent amount of marijuana products, and to be able to grow up to 4 plants at a time for their own personal use. This legislation would also allow adults to share their cannabis without remuneration. Remuneration. Y'all, why is that a hard word for me to say today? So North Carolina, there is this legalization bill available for y'all to act upon. There's also a medical bill that is likely to see some movement as well next week. So I encourage you to go to norml.org/act, hover over your state, and make sure you participate in all the action alerts there. All right, last one I'm going to cover today is a big one. It's Rhode Island, now officially the 19th state to legalize marijuana for adults. Democratic Governor Dan McKee signed the legislation into law this week, and it legalizes the personal use and retail sales of cannabis for those 21 and up. Provisions in the law will permit adults to possess and home cultivate marijuana effective upon the signing as of this week. The Rhode Island Cannabis Act will allow 21 and up to possess 1 ounce in public or 10 ounces at home, to home cultivate up to 6 plants, and to purchase limited amounts of cannabis. It also facilitates for the automatic review and expungement of past criminal records. Under the measure, records must be vacated no later than by July 1st, 2024. The act also includes provisions for reinvesting tax revenue from cannabis sales into those communities that were previously most harmed by prohibition, as well as programs to aid social equity applicants who are seeking to enter the market. There are also protections for consumers so that they don't face disciplinary actions in the workplace solely for their off-the-job consumption of cannabis. You'll find a link to our blog regarding that. And it's also of note that voters in several states, including Maryland, Missouri, and South Dakota, will decide about legalization in November through their ballot initiative efforts. So this is the update that I have for you guys today. Let me come back over to the comments and see where you guys are from and if I have any moving legislation for you. All right, I see Texas on there. Hello, Texas. I am based out of Austin, as you might remember. Right now, we are not in the legislative cycle, but we did just have our primary runoff elections, and there are some interim charges that are going to be rolling out over the next few weeks. So if you go to texasnormal.org, there are 3 action alerts you can participate in. You just go to the Take Action tab, click on there. There's one having to do with medical cannabis expansion, decriminalization, and a regulated cannabis market. So I encourage you to participate in those. Also, you'll find on NORML a recent blog about ballot initiatives and referendum. There are some local efforts in these special types of cities in Texas to get where there will no longer be charges for those possessing small amounts of cannabis. So I encourage you to look at those. There will be several items on the local ballot in Texas coming in November. Of course, in Missouri, there's Missouri Legal 22, which has submitted their ballot signatures and are waiting for those to be approved so that they can officially be on the ballot. So stay tuned for that. It is likely that you will be voting to legalize cannabis in November in Missouri. Next, Ohio. Let me just double check that I believe. Sorry, guys. There was some recent actions in Ohio having to do with the ballot initiative, and I just want to toggle over to that and make sure that I am giving you the most current information. Yeah, so in Ohio, there was a ballot initiative effort to address marijuana legalization, and there was litigation, and there's now been an agreement that has been reached. And the agreement is that while the initiative will not be able to be on the ballot until November of 2023, the advocates will be able to keep their signatures that they have collected. So you can go to our blog and learn a little bit more about what's going on there in Ohio. In Pennsylvania, there is some moving legislation in Pennsylvania. Let's get over there. There's legislation having to do with home cultivation, banking, decriminalization, DUI. There's also one that we oppose that would strip patient protections. So definitely those of you in Pennsylvania participate in. Sorry, I had a little bit of a Wi-Fi issue there, it seems like. I apologize for that. All right. Let's see. Alabama, you are not in session right now. I do think that there will be some upcoming efforts to get some local initiatives and measures passed Illinois, your session is ending, I believe, tomorrow, and there is 2 bills that are pending the governor's signature that have to do with, let me double check that I'm giving you the right bills, employee protections and expungement. So that is super important there. I see California, which we went over, so that's good. All right. So I'm not seeing any more states or questions listed here, but I did want to let you guys know that next week I will not be here for the regular update. I do hope to have the blog post available for you guys, but the NORML team will all be in Aspen, Colorado for our legal conference. You'll note in the description of this video that there is a link to the Aspen Legal Conference. If you're already going, I look forward to seeing you there. If you're not and you're interested in getting some CLE credits or attending and learning more, definitely I encourage you to go to that link and register. Of course, there's the link to my blog from today's update. There's also information on how you can support NORML's mission by becoming a member or making a donation. And then lastly, there's information about chapters so that you can engage with the chapter in your state. And if you don't see a chapter there, which there are a couple states where we don't have chapters, I encourage you to check out our page about starting a chapter and reach out to our chapter's development director, Jen Michelle. So on that note, friends, I will not be seeing you next Friday, but it has been lovely to spend this Friday with you, per usual. And I look forward to connecting with you in 2 weeks. So you guys have an amazing day, and till next time.